I'm Avner Avraham, I'm a former Mosad, and stay tuned with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. It's my great pleasure to welcome today Avner Avraham, Baruch haba.
Thank you.
Avner Avraham is a former member of the Mosad, an operative from the Mosad. He has done some amazing things in his career. One of them is after the Entebbe raid in 1976, when the hijacked airplane and the passengers were under the guard of the Ugandan army. The Israeli military came in with an incredible plan to rescue the detainees, the hostages, and they wiped out the Ugandan army that was there. They wiped out the Ugandan Air Force that was in the Entebbe airport, and came in, and only one soldier lost his life, of course, the brother of the current Prime Minister, Yoni Netanyahu. Operation Thunderbolt, Operation Jonathan, Operation Entebbe, as it's known by all three names. And you afterwards found a letter that was written from the Iranians to the Israelis, congratulating them on this great success, this great military move to wipe out these terrible terrorists. Can you tell me about that? And was this while you were still with the Mossad? Were you already left the Mossad already when you did? How did that all come about?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm too young to take part in the Entebbe operation.
Of course.
I made a few exhibitions in the Mossad at the quarter before I retired. One of them is about the Entebbe raid. And about this funny letter from the Iranian, we got a lot of letters from different secret services that we work with, and the Iranian got a very good and close relationship with us in the 70s. Now that's why it's so funny to get to have the copy of this letter.
Now this was during the reign of the Shah of Iran?
It was with the Shah.
It was with the Shah, that's what I'm saying. It was
yes.
with the Shah of Iran when he was in charge. Yes,
Yes.
that's what I was
It
asking.
was with the Shah. Now, actually, I came to Chicago for another reason. Maybe I'll talk later
Yeah.
about the reason that I came. But I also made some special lectures together with Benny Davidson.
Benny Davidson, who was a
Yeah.
guest on our show, he was one of the hostages when he was 13 years old from the Entebbe hijacking, and hijacking to Entebbe, I should say, out of Israel, France, on Air France, which stopped in, where did it stop in between?
Benghazi.
In Benghazi.
Libya.
And so this whole situation, you and Benny have been going around talking about your work as former Mossad and your collecting and your research that you're doing, along with Benny talking about the history of that hijacking and his being freed by Operation Jonathan, by Yoni Netanyahu and the soldiers that came in on the raid to Entebbe overnight. You and he, how did you get hooked up? How did it all come about? Now, I know you spoke this week. My daughter heard you at the Ida Crown Jewish Academy, and she said to me, you have to come and meet these two people, and thank God I did. And I came and heard you speak another night at a synagogue, and I'm so glad you're able to be on the show today, as Benny was able to be on the show. How did you two get together, and how did this all come about?
So I'm a collector, and I like to collect the original stuff, or original items that took part in operations. And I knew that his mother wrote a book
Yes.
based on a diary that she wrote during that week. So I asked her to give me the diary.
The original transcript,
was, yes,
manuscript.
yes, and she gave it to me. I put it in actually part of my exhibition, and I met Benjamin at the opening event, and we became very close friends. And Benny always, when he tell his story, he focused on the selection that happened.
Of the Jewish people who were separated and placed
Yeah, but
in
it was a selection between the foreign passports and the Israeli passports. but
and
it
Jewish
was also
and obvious Jewish people.
Jewish. Now, they knew that Orthodox Jews got a kippah and they look like a Jew, so they told him, hey, you are like the Israelis, you have to go to the other room, even if you don't have Israeli passport.
Right. The non-Jewish, or the ones they didn't know were Jewish, and the non-Israelis were released before this all took place.
Yes. So actually they released and they came to Paris, and the Mossad questioned most of them, and got a lot of information, small details about all the area, the rooms, the terrorists, how many terrorists, what kind of weapons, all the small information that you need to establish a special operation like the Entebbe operation.
And then Benny had told us about how they hired someone on an airplane who said he was having trouble flying. He was actually flying and circling, they wouldn't let him land, which he was hoping for, and took actual film pictures, manual film pictures of the airport from the sky.
It was a
Mosad agent.
Mosad agent that came one day before the operation, hired a small plane, and he came with a small Leica camera, made tens of aerial pictures.
Unbelievable.
And the Prime Minister, Rabin, got a copy of all the pictures a few hours before the operation, and he approved the operation because of these pictures, because he could see that there is no missiles in the airport, and there's nothing that looks strange or looks dangerous for the forces. And by the way, the commando soldiers, when they got the pictures, they saw exactly the gates, so they knew how to get in a few seconds to run directly to the doors, directly to the room where the hostages were, and in less than, it's like 36 seconds, they killed all the terrorists and released. And unfortunately, we lost 3 hostages in the terminal, and 1 hostage, Dora Bloch, that she was in the hospital, and Idi Amin, after 2 days, sent his people to kill her.
Terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
But
terrible.
I want to mention something.
Please.
About the selection. They also asked the passenger to open the handbag, like the airport. And one of the hostages, Akiva Laxer, Orthodox Jew, got his tefillin. By the way, a small version of tefillin that he used to travel with. And the terrorist asked him, the German terrorist told him, is it a communication system? And he said, yes, I communicate with my God. Not every day, not on Saturday, but on the other days I communicate with my God. So he said, okay, you can use it. And the long line of Israelis every morning pray with this tefillin.
Use his tefillin to be able to
Yes.
bench tefillin with him.
Yes.
That's an amazing
And
story.
this original tefillin is also part of the story, also
Unbelievable,
Yes.
unbelievable. And the whole thing that got you involved in this particular story is wanting those manuscripts from the diary from
Yes.
Benny's mother.
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What other things have you collected and looked into, and do you display in your exhibitions?
Okay. So, as you know, usually the Mossad don't deal with exhibitions, but I made the first small exhibition about the capture of Adolf Eichmann by the Mossad. It was
In Argentina, right?
In Argentina, May 11, 1960, and I found 3 boxes with amazing stuff. I found the keys for the house in Garibaldi Street. I found the goggle that they use to cover his eye. I found Israeli passport with his picture.
Wow.
Okay. I found original kit, very primitive way to produce license plate for the car. And I decided to build small exhibition, and one day the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, came to the Mosad headquarters, and he saw it, and he said, hey, it's over 50 years, we can show it
Publicly
now. Let's put it in the Knesset, in the Israeli parliament in Jerusalem. And I found myself in Jerusalem for 1 month. And after that, the head of Mossad told me, okay, I want you to do everything, anything, just make exhibition like this. It's very important for us, it's very, very important for the Israelis. So Entebbe was the second.
So are you right now a shaliach for the Mossad doing this outside of Mossad work in Israel? Or have you left the Mossad and you've continued your work that you started with them?
I left the Mossad 2 years ago, but I became very professional in this area because I studied in the university 2 years. And today I'm running a business of producing also art exhibitions. But the most important projects actually in my life is the capture and Avner Avraham and the Entebbe. And then I said, what is the connection? Sometimes,
that was my next question.
I tell you.
Why those two events particularly?
Yes. First of all, the Mossad took part in these two operations. Of course, in the Eichmann it was the main part, but in the Entebbe it was the IDF operation, a commando military operation, but a very important part of the Mossad. Small part, but very important. But I want to focus on one of the hostages that he was a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz with a number on his hand, and he was also hostage in Entebbe.
And that's the idea of selection must have
Yes.
really bothered him a lot because that
Yes.
happened to him before,
Yes.
obviously, in the Holocaust.
Yes, and I would like to remind you that two of the terrorists were Germans, men and women.
Right, these are the two that actually first up front, and then there were two, Benny told me this, that's how I know, there were two Arab terrorists in the back.
Yes, yes. The two Germans and the two Arab joined the flight in Athens. And by the way,
That was the first stop. It was actually supposed to be
Direct.
Tel Aviv, Athens, New York, right? Originally.
No. Originally supposed to be Tel Aviv, Paris, and from Paris, the Davidson planned to continue to New York.
So it was the Tel Aviv to Paris that stopped in Athens?
Stopped in Athens, yes. Most of the passengers didn't know that there is a stop in Athens.
And that's where the terrorists got out.
Yes. And now, last year, I fly to Nice, and I met the captain, Michel Bacos.
Oh, he's 93 years old, I was told.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
I said to Benny when he told me that, I said he's a hero. He's a real hero.
He's a
Because
really
he
hero.
would not leave if there was one hostage left. He was allowed to be released, and he said, I'm not leaving while there are hostages here until everyone's released. It's an amazing, amazing story. What a hero. And a really Israeli hero, a hero to Israel of the righteous Gentiles.
But if I'm thinking about the September 11, this tragic terror attack that we all remember, the terrorists learned how to use the plane and how actually they knew how to fly. And Michel Bacos, the captain, told me that when the German terrorists entered to the cockpit, he knew the buttons. He knew where is the emergency button. He told him, don't touch this, give me the communication. So he took control. Okay?
It's amazing.
Now, if we are talking for more parts of the Mossad, one of the hostages that actually one of the passengers didn't come to Entebbe. She landed in Benghazi, Libya.
And that was where the terrorists stopped after Athens, right?
Yes.
They stopped in
To
Entebbe
refuel.
to refuel before going to Uganda to Entebbe.
Yes, and she said, and she told the terrorist, look, I'm having a miscarriage. And they didn't want to deal with her. They sent her to the hospital. And of course she got nothing. And the day after she flew to London and questioned by the MI6 and the Mossad and brought the first information inside the plane, what happens there.
Unbelievable.
Okay? And now I want to also mention the Mercedes. You remember the Mercedes?
Tell everyone what that is.
Okay. So the idea in this kind of operation is to come very, very quick to the terminal, because the terrorists don't need more than a minute to kill everybody. So the Mossad knew that the Idi Amin, the president of Uganda, using a limo, a black limo, Mercedes. And when he come with his limo, he always come with the 2 Land Rovers full of local soldiers. So actually the Israeli commando came with the same car and the same 2 Land Rovers. And the commando soldiers wear Ugandan uniforms. Now the Mossad brought a gray Mercedes, and the soldiers in the commando unit needed to find a spray color and change
to black.
Yes. And now the last thing that the Mossad
We're able to do
after 3 years. After 3 years, the Mossad brought Dora Bloch remains to Israel.
Oh, right. They brought her to be buried in
a
Israel.
separate operation. So
it's amazing. I was telling Benny, I just wanted to tell you, just recently, the whole Entebbe thing came to light here in Chicago because a man named David Steiner, who was somebody studying to be a rabbi, but he was a filmmaker. He was making a film of inner city children, and the school of the inner city children were mainly Ugandans who had come to Chicago. So he went with a trip of children, including his son, who was a Jewish day school student, went to Uganda to do this filming and to meet the Jewish community in Uganda. And somehow or another, there was a crash of the bus, and David Steiner was the only one killed. Everyone else lived, but they were ransacked by Ugandans. Everything was stolen from them, their passports, their money, everything. After the bus crashed, only one person died, the head of the group and the filmmaker, unfortunately. But everybody said, Uganda again. Entebbe came right to the front of everyone's minds as what a terrible situation that was.
Stay tuned. Taped with Rabbi Doug will be right back.
Tay-Sachs and Canavan are 2 diseases that are fatal to infants and young children, but they can be prevented. Every person of Jewish heritage is at risk of passing on the fatal Canavan and Tay-Sachs genes to the next generation. People of Irish heritage are also at risk of being carriers of Tay-Sachs. Simple blood tests will tell you if you are a carrier. Log on to taysachs.org for more information. Remember, Tay-Sachs and Canavan diseases can be prevented. Don't make your next baby a sitting duck.
I'm Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul and Mary, sometimes known as Puff the Magic Dragon, and I'm hiding the great face of Rabbi Doug. Watch him, Rabbi Doug. It's a wonderful show. I'm David Broza, and you're watching Tape with Rabbi Doug.
I wanted to ask you some questions because you're the first former Mosad agent I've had on the show before. Many Israelis, many members of the Tzahal over the years. But how does one, at 18 years old, you went into Tzahal like everyone does, right? And you became a soldier and you went through basic training and you were assigned wherever you were assigned. How does one go from being a soldier to joining the Mossad? How does that come about? Is it something that you looked forward to? Is it someone approached you and said, you're really good, we want to put you on the special unit, and it leads to that? How does it work?
Okay, so sometimes they need the Mossad need professional soldiers for missions. So they took me to a mission.
At what age?
19.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and so it was my first time with them for 1 month. And after that, I just asked. By the way, I didn't ask. I asked if I want to join the Mossad, but it took 1 year to finish all the process. And when 2 days after I finished my army, 4 years, by the way, I was an officer. I started working
For the Mossad.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents right away? Does it have to be kept secret? Is it something you could share with your family?
And they know that you are something in security, but they don't ask and they do that, and you're not allowed to say.
You're not allowed to say. Amazing, amazing. And are you the first former Mossad agent that is allowed to go around and say, I'm a former Mossad agent and do what you're doing? Or is that when you're out long enough, it's okay to do that?
Well, there's some people that write books, some people that were the head of Mossad, but I'm the first one that built exhibitions, and the newspaper wrote about the exhibition and interviewed me 6 years ago. For example, the first exhibit in the Diaspora Museum in Tel Aviv. CNN, yes, Bet Tfutzot. CNN came with the team to interview me without showing my face.
Right,
Okay.
of course.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Now, of all your artifacts, if you had to say, if the government took control of all of them and said, you can only keep one, what would it be? What is your most valued artifact
From
in
the
your
Eichmann
collection?
or
From whatever you have. What is your most valued artifact?
I think from the Eichmann exhibition, the Israeli passport with the picture of Eichmann.
Yeah.
It's the state of Israel, the state of the Jewish people. They capture Eichmann, and they, by the way, and they made the picture. Okay? And they developed the negative, and they print the picture in the safe house in Buenos Aires, and they build this, and they use it for the passport to smuggle Eichmann to Israel.
That's an amazing thing, just an amazing thing. I don't think that people, young people, 20s, 30s today, because I was just a baby when the Eichmann situation all happened when he was captured. I don't think today that many of them really know the details. They know the name, they know how evil and terrible he was, that he was a Nazi, but I don't think they know the whole details of that in Argentina and the capture by the Israelis. What would you say of all of the special operations? And there have been a lot of them. We know Operation Moses. We know what do you call it? In Africa, what were known as the Falasha Jews. We know that in the Taimani in Yemen, the Jews, the operations that saved those Jews, and in other areas. What do you think was the most dangerous operation of the Israeli military and Mossad?
Well, it's not going together all the time, Mossad and
I understand. I'm saying, if you look at the two of them together, what was the most dangerous operation that we know about? There are probably a lot we don't even know about, but the ones that we do know about.
Maybe the destroying of the site in Iraq.
Right, the Iraq, I was going to ask the same thing. The Iraqi nuclear plant, which was destroyed by the Israeli army, because they, in my mind, they were taking a chance. They didn't even know if their planes had enough fuel to make it there and end up leaving there safely and stuff. So in my mind, that's what I was thinking of, but I want to know what you thought also. Yes. That was an amazing thing.
Yes, but you know, Benny Davidson and me, we gave 5 different lectures about the Entebbe. One of them in Bet El Synagogue.
And in Highland Park.
Yes, and we got the last part is Q&A. And one woman asked me, "Hey, what about Janet? Do you know Janet?" Now the secret in my exhibition is that I meet hundreds of people that come in and share with me information. I said, "Yes, I know Janet." Janet was a young, beautiful woman from the state that came to Israel to volunteer in a kibbutz. And she met Ezra, Israeli that live in a kibbutz, and they fall in love and they get married. And they decided that they want to come to the state to meet the parents. And they were also hostages in Entebbe. And now think about the selection.
Oh my goodness.
They got different passports. She got the American passport, and he got the Israeli passport.
Wow.
So she was in the foreign room, and he was in the Israeli and Jewish room. And she starts screaming and crying, and they understand that there is a relation between two of them, and they send her to the Israeli group.
Wow.
And you can also find this scene related also to the Holocaust, when someone that like a marriage, like a Christian that marry a Jewish woman, and they told him, you shouldn't go. You can stay at home. I said, no, I'm going with her.
There's a story about a couple where she was hiding out with a Christian family, a Jewish girl, young girl, and she used to come to the concentration camp fence, and she used to throw apples over the fence to this boy. And later, one of them was living in Canada, one was living in the United States, and one of the friends said, there's some girls in Canada, they want to introduce us. Do you want to go with me on the trip? They went on the trip, and they ended up married.
Wow.
And found out afterwards, this is the person that was throwing apples to me as a little boy over the fence. It's just, these type of stories are amazing.
It reminds me of a movie that I saw between a Nazi family that lived near the camp, and they got a small son. And this small son used to come to the border of the camp, and he saw a small young Jewish boy in the camp. And they start playing together between the two sides of the border. And after a few weeks, he gave him clothes, and he let the Nazi son, the Nazi boy, enter to the camp. And it was the day that the Nazis decided to send all of them to the gas chamber.
Wow.
And the Nazi came home, and he didn't find his son, and he understand that something happened.
The son was taken with him.
But he came too late. And his son was together with the Jewish son.
It's an amazing
Yes.
story. It's an amazing story. I can't thank you enough for being on the show. This has just been amazing. Former Mosad agent. He is now displaying in his collections and exhibitions articles from historical events and operations by the IDF and the Mossad. I can't thank you enough, Avner Avraham. Thank you so much for being on the show and for being here in Chicago from Israel. I want to thank all of you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see Benny Davidson, who we've talked about on my show, on the web and other former shows. If you want to email Avner, you can send an email to us at info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward it to him, and I know he'll get back to you. And as I mentioned when Benny was on the show, if anybody out there who's watching is interested in their presentations, email us also, and I'll get them in touch with you about that. Hope to see you next time. Thank you again, Avner Avraham. Baruch haba to Chicago, Nesiat Tova, a safe trip back, and hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need. You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.